failure. We know what it's like to fail. I read this woman on Twitter. She said, here was her most recent failure. She said, I just hugged my dentist thinking that he was going in for one, but really he was just trying to take off my dental bib. I don't think I'll ever recover. Can you imagine like how awkward that would be? And so some of those failures are kind of like one-on-one, maybe not a lot of people see. And then there's some that are a little bit bigger, right, where everybody gets to see it. Like the guy back in the fall that was on Wheel of Fortune. This guy had a chance to win one of those prizes in the studio filled with fabulous prizes, right? And all he had to do was guess this one, right? Which was give yourself a round of applause. But listen to what he said.
To solve the puzzle?
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Treat yourself a round of sausage. Oh.
I'm sorry, that's not it.
I'm not sure that that is correct, right? Now that's a failure that everybody knows about and everybody got to see. And so sometimes the failures are really, really big and they're very, very public, right? When it comes to failure, some of it is abject. Your health might fail you. You might lose your health or a lifestyle, and that's painful for sure. Then there's glorious failure when you just kind of have an opportunity in front of you and you're gonna jump and you're gonna try to reach it and you give it your all. You take your bat to the plate, you swing, but you miss, right? That is a failure that is of glorious size. You went all in, but it didn't work. Then there's different kinds of failure that are maybe a little bit more predictable. Right? Something that you just knew it was coming, you know it's gonna happen, like every Sunday from the beginning of September to the end of December, right? Absolute predictable failure, the Cleveland Browns. There is no better case. And then there's failure that's kind of personal. It's the kind of failure that you just can't get past. The mistakes that you make that weigh you down. You know what I'm talking about because we've all failed. And so you feel the weight of it. And maybe some of your anxieties because of it. Maybe it was a decision that you made in your past that when you did it, man, it seemed kind of fun and the right thing to do, but now, you wish you hadn't. You kind of spent more than you should have and you are in debt further than you wanted to be, and now you can't catch up. Man, we can remember some of our successes, but oh boy, we never forget our failure. It stays with us. The weight of it's on our shoulders. And we don't know how to shake it, whether it's at home or at work, with our relationships, with our kids, our spouse, whatever it might be. Our failures stay with us. And sometimes they feel final. If that's you today, you're in a good place, because we're going to talk about how to get past your past and how your failure can be redeemed and how you can shake off the weight and the shackles of all of that you feel through the power of Jesus. We're in the Gospel of John chapter 4, if you want to open up your Bible or your Bible app and join me there. We're in a series investigating Jesus, and today we're going to look at an encounter that Jesus had with a woman. We don't know her name. She's called the Samaritan woman at a well. But first, I want to backtrack a little bit, because maybe you weren't here last weekend when we were in John chapter 3, and we looked at a guy who came from the other side of the tracks. His name was Nicodemus, and he wasn't a failure. He hadn't just failed. This guy was successful. By the world's standard, he had done everything possible to succeed. He was in the elite status of the culture of his day, but something was missing. He had success, but he was missing significance. And his story reminded us in John chapter 3, no one can rise above the need for Jesus. Now you flip the page to chapter 4, and you have the story of this woman. And maybe it was her checkered past, and maybe it was some things that she had done, but guess what? Now, it's creeped into more than what she did. Now it's become who she is. She didn't just fail. Now she thinks she's a failure. Unlovable, unworthy, not able to connect with God. And in John chapter 4, here's what we're going to learn about Jesus, that no one can sink below the reach of Jesus. While no one can rise above the need for him, nobody can sink below the reach of him.